Aussies are working longer hours than ever before, but our productivity growth is at a 60-year low. That's according to the Productivity Commission, which is a research body that advises the Australian government. They say if we could fix this problem, you could be up to $14,000 a year richer by the year 2035. That's assuming that productivity is shared equally with everyone, employees as well as their employers. But what does this mean? Does the Australian government think we're not working hard enough? In an economic sense, this just means that they want us to work smarter, not harder. Labour productivity measures what we put in, which is the input, versus what we produce, which is the output. This is pretty simple to measure if we're looking at industries like manufacturing. So for example, if someone works in a chocolate factory for 40 hours a week and they make 2,000 chocolate bars, that their productivity is 50 chocolate bars an hour. But it can get tricky measuring that productivity of someone who makes a different product. How do you compare someone who makes chocolates versus someone who makes biscuits? In this circumstance, you could look at the value. So if someone makes $4,000 worth of chocolate bars at 40 hours per week, then their productivity is $100 per hour. Historically, there have been massive improvements in productivity over the years. Someone in 1901 might have made chocolates by hand, but with improvements in technology, meaning you could make a lot more chocolate bars now compared to 1901. The average Australian worker in 2025 can produce in 1 hour what it would take to produce in an entire day for someone in 1901. There's another way to measure productivity if you take into account things other than labour, like investments, machinery and technology. This is called multi-factor productivity. The growth in both forms of productivity are at a 60-year low at just 0.4%. Another issue with productivity is that it's a bit tricky to measure across different sectors. The care sector is a huge employer in Australia, which covers things like health, education and care services. Say for example, a teacher could teach 30 kids in a classroom, but is increasing the number of kids they teach the way to improve productivity? How do we measure how effective a teacher or a nurse is? There was a brief productivity bubble during COVID. During the worst of the lockdowns, people moved away from labour-intensive and low productivity industries like hospitality, which were affected by the restrictions. And then there was a huge demand when restrictions eased. And now, since the pandemic is over, demand has fallen and we're back to low productivity. So why aren't we productive? There are so many theories about this, and experts are meeting in Canberra this week to discuss possible solutions. Some experts say that excessive regulation is holding the country back, while others say that we should totally review our tax system, and others say that we should go all in on AI. The Productivity Commission says that our low productivity growth problem needs to be addressed if we want to make sure that our children will have a better future than we had.